What is up, everybody? It is your boy Farai. Thank you once again for tuning in. Today we're gonna be doing another free VST that I haven't done one in so long. I just thought, man, I've been downloading a whole bunch of free plugins and haven't really been, updating you guys and girls. So, we'll be doing that today. Most of these plugins are centered around vocal mixing, obviously, but if you find any use for them in any other field, then feel free to use them. You know what I mean? There are no rules in audio. So pretty much all of these plugins you can use in any DAW. They are all VST format. Unfortunately, I think one or two of these are 32 bits, so they might not work in your DAW if it doesn't support 32-bit. FL Studio is the best DAW, so obviously it supports pretty much anything really that is a VST. And yeah, so I'll be running through every one of these and just giving you some of the source on how to make use of them. So yeah, the first thing we have right here is Pascal 4. I highly recommend this. This is by Air Windows, and obviously links in the description to every one of these plugins. 64-bit works really well. Most of these don't have higher latencies, so you can actually use these while recording, which is really cool, besides Culture, which we'll run through. But yeah, so how you use Bus Color is really, this is a saturation plugin per se. So what you can use this to, what you can do with this is basically you can add color. As you can see right there, bus colors. You can add a nice little distortion element to your vocals. So if I enable this, how you'll make use of this, obviously right now you're not getting that much saturation, but how you saturate a plugin without altering your sound too much, but only walking away with saturation, is you drive the input, right? So imagine hitting this piece of gear really hard, right? So we'll just boost it up by 4 dB, and as you can see right there, my vocal does get louder. And then what we do is we just drop it back 4 dB, So there you go. Now we're basically getting some nice distortion. And now what we can do is we can start changing the colors. Now, I personally like these two. Dark and rock are really going to sound nice on vocals depending on how you're recording. This is kind of my cheaper mic that I just use for YouTube. But, you maybe are getting a bit of crunch right there. Lush, things get more aggressive as you go right. So vibe, hollow's got a bit of distortion element to it. Punch, steel, tube. And these are all just different characteristics that you can use and apply. So yeah, with that out the way, you can also, mess with the wet and dry now. And the reason why I'm not using these within any context, like on a beat or something, is because I want you to go and download these and see how they work for yourself. You know what I mean? I think that's the best way to learn something, is to actually mess around with it, So yeah, Nebula 3, this is definitely one of my favorite plugins right here, man. Free, Acoustica. I'll leave a download link to this. And basically, man, this is basically the free version of Nebula 3 Pro. So now they have Nebula 4, but this is the 3. This is came out like in 2011. Definitely slept on in terms of like the hip hop community. I don't ever really see anyone using this. But yeah, what this comes with is basically it comes with a compressor. So you've got all these compressors right here. It comes with some EQs. Some of these are demos, but that's fine. So basically, you get a whole bunch of different plugins within just this one. So that really makes it cool. You got a filter here, you got mic emulations. This sounds really cool. It's kind of emulating a Neumann. I would definitely recommend adding this as your first input, while recording. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you can always switch it out. Preamps, definitely these are the best. Now, right now, I'm using this Mahallad low gain distortion kind of thing right here. And what this is going to do, same as bus colors, just going to add a bit of, characteristic right here. You've got some really subtle reverbs that you can mess around with. This tape sounds really cool if we kind of enable it. Let's see what happens. So it loads up and boom, now you've got this kind of super crunchy flat sound. Now obviously, test this out on different songs, and just see if it works. You can mess around with the drive. Liquidity, I haven't really heard if anything actually happens when messing around with this, but have some fun. But definitely these preamps, man, if you have a very stale sounding audio interface, this is just what you need. So yeah, I won't dwell on this. Play around with this, man. It's definitely going to change your life. So yeah, next thing right here, simple and sweet. For those who watched the last few videos, the Waves vocal chain, I'm using this on the vocal bus. This is really, Chris from Air Windows, he just does such a great job at doing exactly what the plugin needs to do. If you need saturation, you get saturation. So what this is basically a high pass filter and a low pass filter. Now obviously with vocals, we don't want to low pass our vocal too much, but if we do need to cut some bass out, we can do that minimally. As you can see right now, the bass kind of dips away from my voice. You could use this on vocal backgrounds. If you just want to clean up your vocal just a little bit and you feel that the fruity one is a bit harsh, boom, this is probably the cleanest high pass filter you'll ever get. Simple and sweet. All right, cool. So next thing, we got the Aberrant sounds, Culture. And what's cool about this plugin is, unfortunately, if you don't purchase this, you won't get the saturation element, which I personally love. The sine, distortion element is just amazing. The tube is amazing, so I won't run through that obviously, because if you don't own this, I mean, we can kind of turn it on and just crunch our vocal a little bit. This sounds really sweet. But what I like to use this for is just to set the detection to human. And then what I can do is then I can actually reduce the bass, boost the bass. Let's just get that back to where it was, -6. So we can use that to kind of just mess around with the bass of our vocal, which a lot of, beginner engineers, struggle with, how much, how little. This is just really nice at dealing with that. And then it has this transient section where you can, kind of make your vocal punch a little bit harder. If it's too harsh, you can tone it back. So this is a really nice free transient processor, which I highly recommend using. Absolutely love it, man. You've got this cool little display here. Some shorties walk in and you can just look really cool, like, yo, this is science right here. So yeah, there you go. Oh, I didn't have it in, so let's turn that up. Saturation. You know how we're doing. If you need a bit more articulation in your voice, there you go. If you need to reduce some bass, there you go. If you need to boost some bass, there you go. Simple and sweet. Cool. So the next thing right here, man, we've got this plugin, which is basically emulating pretty much a EQ I think that the Beatles used back in the day. Now, obviously, how can that relate to you? What I think this can help you with is you just want to set this mode firstly to, I think it's stereo, right? Yeah, you want to set it to LS because then it's dual input. You don't want it to kind of act strange. But what I like to do with this plugin is pretty much the same with the buzz color. So I want to use it as a saturation plugin, really just to add a little bit of color and flavor to the vocal. So what I can do is just crank it up a little bit, as you can see, it gets a bit crunchy, and then just pull the output down, and if I need some top end, just boost it like, 2 decibels, 1 decibel, maybe get some mid-range out of there, maybe dip a bit of bass out there, and it has 2 different sounds. So, I personally prefer the pop. It sounds more modern and upfront, and yeah, you're good to go. I don't know what this does. Bass roll-off, we'll leave that out there, but it's also got a VU meter, so you can actually see if your vocal is hitting at the right level, as you can see right there, perfect levels right there, So yeah, enjoy that. Now, as a bonus, we'll leave this one for last because this is really a cool plugin. But for those who can't afford any Waves plugins, this is going to be a great plugin, similar to the Waves L1. This is the W1 limiter, and how you use that is pretty much, if I use this on the last insert on my vocal chain. So what I'll tend to do is maybe you can dip the ceiling, right? So let's just say minus, let's just select that. Let's say minus 0.5, right? We can set our ceiling so the vocal is never going to go above that. And then what I can do is just turn the threshold up a little bit, So it really just tightens the vocal up, And if you're unsure about all this release stuff and all that kind of thing, just set it on auto release or adaptive release in this case, and you're good to go. So this is a really sweet plugin just to finalize your vocal. Most professional, let's call them recordings, songs you listen to on the radio and that kind of thing, are using this on instrument buses, on vocal buses, and really just using it to kind of squash the vocal in a really nice, pleasant way. So yeah, bonus time right here. Wow, okay. You're not going to find this on the internet very easily, but I've been using this recently, and I don't know, I just love the way it sounds, man. Really simple compressor. Obviously, if you don't understand compression, this is going to be a bit hard for you, but just kind of to make things simple, what you can do is, you can leave the recovery where it is, that is the release time. I would personally set the attack time around there, and then just pull the threshold back until your vocal is hitting around minus 2 dB of compression, as you can see right there. When things get loud, it compresses. And this is a very new compressor. This is an emulation of the, I forget what this plugin is called right now. That slips my mind. I've never used one in real life, so it doesn't really matter. But all you need to know is that this sounds really cool. For a free plugin, this is probably made in like 2007, and luckily it doesn't crash. It's really well made, so it has stood the test of time. So yeah, hope you learned something, man. Links in the description for all of these plugins right here. Enjoy, please test these out on your own. I always recommend that to people, because the only way you're going to get better is if you start to hear the difference of what plugins are doing, because once you learn that, you can start making better decisions when mixing. So yeah, it is your boy Farai. Drop a like, ask questions and all that kind of stuff. I'll check you out next time. Peace.